Hey guys, I'm really excited to be here. My name is Michael Mahy. I'm a personal performance coach from London, England. And today we are here to talk about leadership, kind of more specifically around new leaders, newly promoted leaders, or entrepreneurs, business owners who have just kind of getting into the leadership role, who never actually planned to be leaders, but ended up being thrust into this leadership role. As the slide says, passion led us here. And that's exactly what led me into my leadership role. I'm from Barbados in the Caribbean, and I was a scuba diving instructor there for over 20 years. And I taught thousands of people how to scuba. And the point of my backstory is to show you how when I opened my own scuba diving business, it wasn't about becoming a leader. I didn't want to I want to assume a leadership role. I was following my passion. Passion led me to open up a scuba diving business because I loved diving. I loved the adventure. I loved teaching. I loved connecting with people and sharing my excitement and my adventure with the world. And so I ended up leading a staff, a small team, just maybe 6 to 10 people, multinational from all over the world. There was a bit of turnover with our team that we work with because people were coming in on different programs, short work programs and stuff like that. And that's when I started to get into my leadership role and understand all the intricacies that come along with leadership and all the beauties that come along, but also the complexities that come along with leadership. So I'm just going to make you a bold promise before we start. And that's by the end of this presentation, you guys are going to have a better understanding of how to involve and engage in meaningful conversations, powerful, impactful relationships, so that when you show up in whatever leadership role, because we're all leaders in one form or another. And the important thing to recognize here is that you recognize that we're all leaders and that you step in and embrace this leadership role, whether it's in a company or an organization or in your family, with your girlfriend, boyfriend, brother, sister. You're all in this role as leaders, and to recognize that, to embrace it, and to get more from your relationships and be more impactful and empowering and growing more in your relationships. And that's my bold promise for you today, that you should be able to see that, grasp that, and understand that a little bit deeper. Okay, so without further ado, we're going to jump straight in and start looking at some of the misconceptions that come along with leadership. So just having a little technical here, trying to get the next slide to come on. So just bear with me 1 second. Yes, so here we are. Common misconceptions that the traditional idea and thought about leadership has led us into kind of a narrow sort of box, puts us into a small box of how to lead. And one of these misconceptions is the main one, the first one we're going to start with: if I'm not tough, no one will listen to me. And I certainly can relate to that, because even though I'm kind of all, friendly and warm and welcoming at the moment, I can be a tough guy. And as I started my leadership role, that's how, when I got into the role and things started to get stressful and there were demands and different opinions and different personalities and lots of adversity and diversity, and I felt a bit threatened, the first thing that I would do in my leadership role in my school center is to toughen up. Right, you do this, no, it's only my way, that kind of stuff. So let's look at the first one. We're going to go through them one by one, and then we'll summarize at the end. All right, so what we're looking at now is, right, if I'm not tough enough, no one will listen to me. And this one is basically speaking towards communication, and it's about vision. So one of my big powers, one of my strengths is my enthusiasm and my passion and my vision. But what I found in my case back in my scuba days is that if I didn't settle down and actually communicate my vision with transparency to my team, they would they wouldn't share it. You know, they wouldn't understand where it was coming from, what I actually wanted on the grand, you know, in the grand scheme of things. So when you spend the time with your staff and you communicate openly with them what it is you want, how you want them to relate to your customers, how you want them to relate to each other, how you want them to look at your industry, whether it's the diving industry or the manufacturing industry or the sales industry, how you interact and see your industry on a day-to-day basis, internally and externally, is going to create an unbreakable link with your team. In other words, your team will become empowered, not just with your vision or my vision, but with the vision. Yes, thinking globally, thinking externally. And they will digest this, they become empowered, so that when you are taking this vision forward, even if you are one of those leaders, those kind of type A personality, you know, take charge kind of leaders, and you are going ahead, like I try to use a metaphor of shooting an arrow from a bow, and you shot this vision forward. That when you look back at your support team, you know, they're there behind you, with you, all around you, supporting the vision, and supporting the growth, because they have connected. And the only way they're going to connect is if you can communicate with some transparency and empower them. And so the whole tough guy routine, what that does, it closes doors. It puts shields up. It causes people to shrink away and leave you to it, or tell you what you want to hear, so that you feel like you get it, like they get it, your staff gets it, your team gets it, but they actually don't. That's what that toughness will do. It's almost like cooking, cooking a steak or something, or cooking some delicate meal, and you overcook it, you make it tough, yeah, and then you don't enjoy the meal. Same thing with communication. So as you guys are out there doing your, in your leadership positions, whether they're new leadership positions or old leadership positions, remember the way you communicate should be open and transparent, and that the idea behind communication is to create empowerment, to share that vision, okay? So that you can all be together as a team and move forward with effectiveness, okay? Okay, guys, so we're gonna look at that's the number one myth. So the number two myth, you're looking at the actual opposite to being too tough, okay? And we're looking at being too soft. If I'm too soft, my team will take advantage of me, or they will take advantage and they will get lazy. And, you know, the thing about this particular myth, and for me, when I recognized that the tough role wasn't really working, I hesitated to be vulnerable, because I thought, well, my team is going to find out too much about me, and they're going to know my weaknesses, and they're going to exploit that and take advantage and think that I'm a soft boy. You know, I'm from the Caribbean, and being a tough guy and being macho and all this kind of stuff, it is important, yeah. But what I recognized, and I started to kind of socialize with members of my team, have a drink, we would go out together, have a laugh together, and we'd basically tell each other stories. You know, eventually we tell each other stories about ourselves, about how we got to where we were, what we've learned along the way, how we've grown along the way, our successes, our losses, our fears, our heartbreaks. And what that does, that type of authenticity and vulnerability and opening up with your in and around your team, is that it just shows that you're a human being, you know, that you're approachable, that you're accessible, that you're empathetic, and that you're understanding and you care. So everyone has a story that makes them human, you know, not rising above anyone or going below anyone, but just being respected as equals. And at the end of the day, in any relationship we develop, that's what we want. So with this type of vulnerability and openness and authenticity, when we engage with our clients that came from all over the world, they sensed that, they felt that, because similarly, they're human beings as well. They have their own story. They want to relate. They want to connect. They want to feel that when we take them into the big wide ocean and their lives are in our hands, that we are real people and that we understand them and that we empathize with their fear and that we see that their vulnerability is not, or their fear is not a weakness, but it's part of their journey towards success and fulfillment and accomplishment in their scuba diving experience. In our case, in my case, with my clients, and or in your cases, when you're interacting with your team, with your clients, or with their executives, or what have you. Okay, so vulnerability is strength. It's not a weakness. It's just an honesty and a truth that we need to enhance all of our relationships at home and at work. Okay, guys, great. So we're going to move on to the next slide and the next myth as well. And the third one is around, if I'm a leader, okay, a very common one, I'm a leader, I'm in charge, and I've got to be right at all times. Now, being right is gave me a sort of false sense of security. It's a sort of a control type of endeavor, and control the outcome, control the players, control life, control everything, and that's impossible. And the only way to let go of this sense of always want to be right, always want to be in control, is to trust the process and trust the team, and realizing you can't do it all on your own. So, for example, in my case, we would be, I can remember one particular case, we had quite a stormy day and it was rough, and we had to take a big group of divers out into the ocean. And I made the call that we're gonna go to one particular dive site, and it's called Bright Ledge Reef. Okay, so most of you guys won't know it, but it's a coral reef off the west coast of Barbados. And I chose that dive site because I thought it was going to be the one that would afford the best environment to suit the skill of my customers. When we got to the Bright Ledge, conditions were not favorable for that. And one of my team just stepped up and said, Mike, we're not going to go there. We're going to go over to the Maycox Reef. Is a better site. And I said, you know what? Yes, I agree with that. And what we're going to do when we get to the Maycox is that we're going to get, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, And the whole idea was, I let go of trying to be in control of the environment and trying to be in control of the last minute decision of what to do and what to execute. That wasn't necessary. What was necessary was, because I had already shared my vision with my team, because I had shared my story with my team, and they had done the same with me, we had that trust within each other. So even though I'm technically the leader, I'm technically in charge, I can trust in what a spontaneous last minute change in plans would be enough, would be a decision or a choice that would be possible to work towards a safe, favorable outcome for everyone. And so, yeah, and also just to add to that before we move to the next slide, it's about collaboration. It's about being alongside your team, not necessarily always in front of your team, but being beside, so that there's no, that's wrong, because my decision wasn't wrong. It's just, at the time and place when it actually materialized, it had some merit. However, it became like a yes and game. So yes, that had some merit, but over here as well, we could also introduce a new idea, and that's why the yes and is part of this slide here, to show that collaboration is something that's done together, beside, for the sake of growth and for the sake of making, empowering decisions to have a favorable outcome for everyone. Okay, So the next slide that we're going to look at is, if I don't do it, then it won't be done right. And this is the one that I kind of, I really, it's close to my heart, because it's all around intuition. It's around the unseen, and what you can't see, but what you just sense and what you feel. And from your senses and from that unspoken sort of unknown, you get innovation. You start thinking outside of the box. You start realizing that we all bring our own powers into our leadership team. And that's why it's a team. And the only way it's going to start to work, so you can develop intuition for yourself and your team, it starts speaking to self-mastery. So you start to understand your strengths, your attributes, and to bring them to the fore. And this is for each and every member of your team, so that we can all go in, sometimes blind, into a situation where you know nothing about what's going to happen. You don't know the outcome, and it's a complete mystery. But because your sense of intuition is so strong, that sense of this creative mechanism, this success mechanism, what we have built in, is what the intuition taps into. So I'll give you another example. I'm on a boat full of people, let's say 15, 20 people, and I don't know any of these people from previous experiences. They're all new, diverse, new clients. And I'm able, through meeting these people, connecting with them, sharing short stories, being vulnerable, trusting them, trusting my team, trusting the whole environment and the whole situation, I can start putting micro teams, smaller teams together, that I have this intuition that will work together really well and build and support each other really well. And that's all our intuition. That's not because I know it doesn't matter what your career is, it doesn't matter what your total backstory is. It's just a sense that I have developed from working with people in this environment for so long. And the innovative part of it comes when it doesn't actually work, and we have to tweak it, we have to twist it. Somebody has to go down the line a little bit longer, or I have to hold someone's hand a little bit longer. Someone has some air problems. Unforeseen issues develop, and we got to get innovative in an environment sometimes where you can't even speak. You can only use hand signals, you can only use eye contact, you can only grab somebody and drag them over there, and they have to trust that when they're being dragged, that they're being dragged for a good reason. But all of this is all possible when you do the internal work, understand what your challenges are, understand what your strengths are, look at your values that you live your life by, look at the principles that you live your life by, and start to really get to understand who you are from the inside out, so that you can actually learn to let go of all of the false, the old traditional beliefs, the false beliefs, the myths, the misconceptions, and actually start to lead from a place that's true to you. Okay, guys. So just to summarize, today we just went through a whole list of, a short list of misconceptions and how to overcome them. And I just want to summarize by saying, yes, leadership is a choice. And a lot of people in real leadership roles that have actually stepped into those roles inadvertently because they were following their passions and their enthusiasms and ambitions. They start to, recoil and think, oh my goodness, it's too much for me. But yeah, not everyone has to be a leader. It is an action position. It is a dynamic position where there's constantly changing. There's no real sense of peace and quiet. And actually, there's no real destination, because the destination for any true leader is a sense of fulfillment, a sense of connection, to develop skills like empathy and trust and looking after relationships, looking after your team. That's the destination, if there's ever a destination, and that never ends. That's something that's continually in motion, continue evolving and changing, and you know, having its ups and downs and its mysteries and intricacies. And that is the beauty of leadership. But the most important thing to remember is that without even realizing it, it is a choice. And once you realize it's a choice, then all of a sudden, at least for me, I just recognized it gave me a sense of well-being, a sense of like control, because I thought, okay, this is up to me. You know, my life is up to me. My leadership role is up to me. No one is forcing me into it. And so it just kind of made me smile, and it made me feel empowered. It made me feel connected, like I belonged. And that's, at the end of the day, what I want for you guys out there as well, to feel that connection, to feel that sense of belonging towards a bigger vision of yourself, a vision of the world, to be a place where you want to be in, and a place where you want to contribute. Okay, guys, so that's pretty much it for today. I'm going to just return to a bigger screen so that we can somehow have a little conversation on a wider scale. So hey, all right, that's it now. So I just want to tell you guys, thank you for listening. This was just a kind of an overall video looking at how to be a true, authentic leader, and some of the skills and attributes you need to develop to be a true and authentic leader, and to have a sense of connection and joy and fulfillment. I will be doing a series of breakout videos looking at those 4 key factors around you know, being inspiring, looking at vulnerability, what is a tough leader, what is too tough, what is too soft. I'm going to do a series of breakout videos just basically looking a little bit more in depth and in detail at these principles and concepts. And you can look for these videos later on. I'm going to have these videos on my website and on YouTube, and those will be coming soon. But I just want to thank you guys for tuning in and listening, and hopefully we can get some engagement, get some connection. And on my website, there's a form to fill out for contact, or an email or a phone number. So please do reach out, and let's see if we can, you know, create a better version of leadership in ourselves and contribute to the world in a big way. I look forward to working with you guys and collaborating with you guys in the near future. Again, thanks for taking part. Thanks for listening. And I'll see you very soon in the later videos. That's it.